Welcome to Burn a Hot Take Live, where we discuss tactics, tips, and tricks for self-defense so that if the time comes, you are prepared to defend. This is our 12-gauge frequently asked questions redo. So if you guys were following us last night on our YouTube Live, unfortunately it got cut a little short, actually a lot short, because apparently we violated the community guidelines of YouTube and did something that they didn't like. By showing you guys a less lethal firearm. So we wanted to make sure and reach out and answer those questions that we had and give you guys some more time to comment, to question, and to have with us to make sure that we are answering all those questions and that you guys know everything you need to about the new 12-gauge kinetic less lethal round. So I'm here again with Luan and Chris producing behind the board to make sure that we can really give you guys all the download on that information. So I have a bunch of questions here that we've been seeing over the past couple weeks before the 12-gauge has gone live on sale. And these are really kind of the top 12 questions for 12-gauge. So we'll be taking your questions too. Chris is obviously live on Instagram. So if you do have some questions that come up, please feel free to ask. But Luan, I want to kick it off. Did you have anything first before we kind of kick everything off?
I mean, we were just getting going yesterday, and getting the unplugged was, I felt like a rebel. But it wasn't our intention to break any guidelines. But it's unfortunate that these big platforms don't really understand what the optics of what we're doing. We're trying to save lives, not take them. And I wish it were more humans than bots that make these decisions. But
yeah, it's definitely been a challenge, on some of these platforms like, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. But rest assured that we are trying to push through all of that and make sure that we can bring that content to you guys on all those major platforms. We actually, right before we jumped on, Luan got a phone call from one of those major platforms, basically wanting to work through some stuff with us. So it's clear that we're getting through and that we're going to continue to push through those challenges. So just stay tuned. So first out of the gate, the question that we get the most is, what shotguns are the Byrna 12-gauge less lethal rounds compatible with? So I'll open that up by saying that they're compatible with pretty much every 12-gauge non-choke shotgun on the market. So we have extensively tested these with, Mossberg 590s, Remington 870s, and the whole series, the Keltec KSG. If you were able to see that last night, Luan had to pop out his, he definitely had to one-up me on my Mossberg on my 590. But it is an awesome shotgun, especially to use with these less lethal rounds. So, and then some others, some Winchesters as well, Benellis. They've all worked great. But the bottom line is that if you have a 12-gauge, as long as it's not choked, cylinder bore, all that stuff, then this round is going to work in your shotgun. You threw out a good stat last night, Luan, about shotguns in the U.S. and kind of why we went that direction. You want to kind of rehash that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. But let's take a step back for all the laymen that, didn't work as a sniper in this past, like me. So can you explain to folks what the choke reference is? And it's really, how it plays into the general dynamics of a regular shotgun.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is why Luan's here, to make sure and rein me in so that we can communicate with everybody. So a choke on a shotgun is generally used by hunters, bird hunters especially, and everybody knows that a shotgun's known for its wide kind of, spray pattern and arc. What a choke does is it actually is a blockage in the barrel that literally chokes the size of the barrel down and limits that spread of whatever ammo you're using. So you'll see a lot of bird hunters use this so that they get a little bit more distance out of that spread rather than such a wide spread. The problem is that our round is not a bunch of BBs, right? It is one single round that needs that whole width of the barrel. So if you're choking that barrel down, there's a possibility it could get stuck.
So choking meaning it's a little more narrow in the barrel. The barrel's a little more narrow. Okay. And then another question that people will have is, your semi, will this work in semi? Obviously it works in pump action, but let's talk about the semi.
Really good question. So will it work in a semi-auto shotgun? Yes, it will. It will fire. Will it cycle that semi-auto action? Most likely not, because this is only powered by a primer. There's, and that's why there's no recoil. It's so quiet. But because of that, there's no, rearward pressure to cycle that action, which means you'll have to cycle it manually. But will it fire? Absolutely.
Awesome. I think that's it for the layman's questions for now.
So great. So moving on to the next question. Does the 12-gauge less lethal round use CO2 or compressed gas to work? We've seen this a bunch since we released the first footage at SHOT Show. The quick answer is no. This uses a standard 209 primer in the shell to actually propel that projectile, that saboed projectile, out of the barrel. Because of this, it's actually considered ammunition, firearm ammunition. So it's not a CO2 power. There's no compressed gas, but that also adds to the simplicity of the round and the reliability of the round. Because it's just powered, primers are some of the most stable parts of an ammunition cartridge out there. They can last for decades. They're really not susceptible to heat, freezing, anything like that, moisture. So the great part about it is that it's going to be super reliable in all conditions and super stable because it's just using that primer.
I mean, another aspect of just having the primer and the way the 12 gauge round is engineered is that, there isn't any recoil. And you don't need ear protection to use this round in a lethal shotgun. And why is that important? Imagine, or in the scenario of a home invasion, you have multiple people. Most of the time, it's more than one person in your home, uninvited. And if you have the courage to use a lethal shotgun with a lethal round on that trigger pull, after that trigger pull, you have lost your hearing. And that is critically important to have if you want to, better understand the situation. So with our 12 gauge round in the shotguns, as we just aforementioned, you can not worry about trigger hesitancy, and you can send some very formidable rounds down the hallway, and knowing that you will dissuade those attackers, but not take a life.
Yeah. So that's definitely one of the other, top questions we get is what does the recoil feel like? And Luan kind of summed it up there. It feels like nothing. It feels like no recoil because of that reduced, pressure and the fact that there's no real gunpowder, just the primer. Especially with the weight of the shotgun, you're not feeling any of that on your body, which makes it super easy to shoot. Like you said, a lot of people carry this for home defense. And with a regular shotgun, as loud as it is and as much recoil as you have, depending on how much you trained with it, your body type, you may get that first round off, and that's it, because you either can't handle the recoil, your situational awareness is completely diminished because you're not hearing. But with this, I mean, at SHOT Show at Range Day, we kept seeing people pick up a shotgun and really lean into it like they would with a shotgun and almost fall forward when they pull the trigger, because they were expecting so much recoil and didn't feel any. So that was a big. You can see a big smile on people's faces, like, "Wow, that's so easy to shoot."
Yeah, what's crazy about the round is that we essentially, with this product, made your shotgun a hybrid, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the best things about us is we're here to provide options, and now we've even provided more options by allowing you to use a platform that you probably already have at home for more options than it was capable of before.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Josh, but for me, I mean, I train with all of my lethal weapons, and I train the least with my shotgun because of the recoil and what it does to your shoulder after a dozen trigger pulls. And then with this, you can rock and roll. And I have a whole new profound love for my Kel-Tec KSG. And I think,
like
that could happen.
With the rest of our platforms, so they're great as a training platform as well. And like you said, a lot of people don't like to train with shotguns. The last shotgun school I went to, we fired over, I think it was 500 rounds in the course of a week, and I pretty much needed shoulder surgery afterwards. So being able to use this as a training tool as a training tool as well, it just makes it easier and makes it so that I can get out there, train more on it, and make sure that I'm proficient with it.
Can I give the Byrna engineers a pat in the back because you just said something that reminded me of something I needed to highlight.
Of course.
And you were a law enforcement guy for almost 2 decades, and you did all that training. And so while at SHOT on range day, members of the NRA tactical law enforcement training team came by. They shot the rounds, blown away, and then subsequently contacted us and asked us to integrate our 12-gauge shotgun rounds into their curriculum. And to me, that was so humbling. And it was just like, that star on the back and the street cred that validates what we're doing. And if the best of the best are putting their stamp of approval on this product, and my hat's off to all the hardworking folks in our R&D and our factory that were able to make this happen. So a shout out to those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would definitely stay tuned within the next few months. We will be increasing our training offerings, and we'll be increasing it to an NRA-approved 12-gauge less lethal course for civilians. So I would definitely stay tuned on our website. Make sure you're on our email list so you can kind of see that come out. But there's going to be a lot more training coming down the pipe for both law enforcement and our civilian market. So really excited about partnering with the NRA to do that. So one of the biggest questions we've gotten since this went on sale is online is, Byrna, you've been shipping to my state this entire time. Why are you all of a sudden not shipping 12-gauge to my state? Luan, you wanna kick this off?
Yes. So unfortunately, there are about 10 states that we cannot ship to based on state laws or what have you. And you can find that on the 12-gauge shotgun page, a product page on Byrna.com, but I'll rattle them off. California, Connecticut, New Jersey, Alaska, New York, Illinois, Washington, D.C., Massachusetts, Puerto Rico, and Hawaii. And, our rounds, although less lethal, are categorized as ammunition. I'm going to hit the biggest state, which is California, and very strict gun laws there. And ammunition, if you buy ammunition, you have to, I believe, pay $1 for tax that involves a background check. So very, very strict. And right now we're working with some big retail partners and some individual dealers. The rounds are going to make their way through Bass Pro and Cabela's very soon. Not on shelves just yet, but I think they're in the final throes of getting them on the shelves. And then local dealers like Desperate Measures and Riverside, as we mentioned yesterday. But the best way and the fastest way to get access to this 12-gauge round is we need your help and really the power of Byrna Nation. Pick up your phone, call your local gun store, ask them for this 12-gauge round, and all they have to do is reach out to us via email by sending an email to dealersales@Byrna.com, sales plural with an S, and request the product, and we can literally ship to these folks within a week. Moreover, for those that are the individual Byrna dealers, you need to have either an FFL or a ammo vendor license to be able to take shipment and resell this product. So and then all the other states, just check your local laws. Josh likes to send folks to atf.com.
.gov.
But yeah, .gov, right?
They should be a .com the way they act.
I'm a commercial guy, so everything's .com.
I know.
But that being said, call your local dealer, your gun store owner, your outdoor survival, any place that sells ammo, and request it. And it's a simple process to get you what you want.
Yeah, and let's be clear, these restrictions are only applied to our 12-gauge rounds. It doesn't mean that we stop shipping our 68 caliber, our SDs, our Mission 4s, or anything like that to your state. It's just that the 12-gauge rounds have different shipping restrictions and different legal restrictions on who we can ship to than our 68 caliber stuff. So you can still, if you've been getting that, we can still ship you that. Nothing has changed on that side.
And for the folks in California or anyone out there that is planning a trip to Las Vegas, come visit our retail store where you'll see me shoot the 12-gauge shotgun into a steel metal door and be blown away by that.
They'll probably let you shoot the 12-gauge shotgun into a steel metal door. I'm just saying. He gets excited about it. I do too. So if I was there, I would.
Yeah. But come by and we'll let you run it.
So he kind of answered the next question, which is how do I become an ammo dealer? So make sure that if you want to carry these rounds, you email dealersales at BYRNA.com. Like he said, it's a super easy process as long as you have your ammo vendor license, whatever is needed in your state for that. Man, we can ship those out quick, and you can start, getting those out to your local folks. So the next question, which we kind of talked about as well, how loud is the Byrna 12-gauge less lethal round? We talked a little bit about recoil, and we kind of touched on the fact that it is way quieter than your typical shotgun round, but it's literally 16 times quieter than your typical shotgun round. This is well under 116 decibels. It's actually about, relatively, it's about the same signature or report as our air launchers. It's hard to tell the difference between which is louder on that side. So it is very hearing safe. You don't need ear pro for it, which once again makes it so much easier to train with, so much more enjoyable to train with, and just so much easier all around. And like Luan touched on, if you do have to use this in a self-defense scenario, you're going to be able to maintain your situational awareness because you're not going to lose hearing. You're going to be able to interact, communicate. In a dynamic situation, especially when stuff starts getting kinetic, it's always about shoot, move, and communicate. Shoot, move, and communicate. Communicate. I'm getting an echo, and it's driving me nuts. So being able to communicate is one of the most important things and biggest things in a critical incident. So not being able to hear definitely hinders that. So this is, something that's been, a big plus on this side.
Hey, Josh, I just got a text message because some people are watching live.
Nice.
And it's a good question. Wants to remain anonymous. Does the 12-gauge round, kinetic round, hurt more than the standard Byrna 68 caliber kinetic round? And you answer the question.
Yeah. Does it hurt more? Yes, a lot. So we can take this in a scientific approach. Our 68 caliber rounds, depending on the launcher and speed, are going to hit you with anywhere from 10 to 14 joules of force. So let's call it 12 joules of force. The shotgun is just under 20 joules of force. And while that may seem like it's just double the amount of force, the force scale is not linear. It doesn't mean that 20 is 2 times 10. It's actually geometric. So as you go up that force scale, it actually gets more and more, there's a bigger amplitude to it. So it definitely has a lot more force, and it definitely hurts more. I've been hit with literally hundreds of our 68 caliber rounds through scenario-based training, and the 12 gauge is just, there's definitely a considerable difference. So our next question, we answered the recoil. What is the effective range of the Byrna 12-gauge less lethal round? So this is, we kind of have a two-part because I really like how Luan sums up range and how it should be used. But we're getting great results from 75 even to 100 feet with, enough accuracy to hit a small person-sized target out past 100 feet. And this is with our kinetic rounds. We'll talk about what's coming down the pipe, but we're getting those hits even out at 75, 100 feet with still a significant amount of force. The great thing about these 12-gauge rounds is the way that they're built. It makes it so that they're very efficient when they're flying through the air. the annular, the little circle part on the back of the torpedo-looking projectile, and the fins stabilize around as it leaves the barrel. So it's actually starts spinning itself once it clears the barrel, which is what makes it so efficient and allows it to carry that force for so much farther than anything that's been on the market. But Luan puts it at a really good way. When you talk about home defense and you talk about, if you're reaching out at 100 feet, the dynamics changed a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, worst case scenario, you hit someone and now you find yourself in a court of law, right? And the opposing attorney will always ask, like, did you have to resort to that level of force because my client was 100 feet away, right? So we know a lot of these things happen within close proximity, 10, 15 feet, maybe 20. And so when I gauge, effective range, and I apply that with what scenario am I using this, this weapon? So most likely in my home, because my shotgun was designed for home defense. And so I go look for the longest hallway. I kind of measure that out. And so my longest hallway in my house is, I think, 50 feet. And then that's from like my living room to the front door. And I know that just practicing at the range here at the store that I have more than enough distance to engage. And so from that standpoint, yes, it is designed to hit about 100 feet, 75 to 100 feet, but the reality is practice in your stadium, right? And the home run marker isn't as
field advantage.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So this thing was designed to go further, but it's going to be more than what you need it to be, and that's the beauty of it. And then the other aspect that we didn't touch upon is standoff range. Like we shot a target, a ballistic gel at 5 feet without penetration, so it does a lot of damage, and then you don't have to worry about almost point blank. You can shoot very close and then ward off that attacker, because like you may be coming out into a sound or a disturbance in your home. That person may be a lot closer than you think.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get it a lot. It's 20 joules is great, but 40 would be better. 40 would be not so less lethal. So the whole point of this is that you can engage someone and you can defend yourself without the fear of causing serious bodily injury or death, because that just puts you into a whole new court of law, so to speak. So it's important for us to that even at close range and out to long range, that this continues to be a less lethal weapon, a less lethal device. So like Luan said, even at that close range, we're not getting penetration, which is exactly what we want.
Right. And then just pressing what we always press. If you guys are messing around with rounds, even the .68 caliber, and there's a BB or a ball bearing or whatever it is, and it can kind of rip through metal, put down the launcher, go get a real gun, because it's a deadly weapon. So like use something it's much more. It was designed to do that. Byrna is all about less lethal, and if you're playing around with that, you've just crossed into lethal. And if you do that, we highly recommend you get a lethal firearm.
Yeah, if you're shooting something that has been proven to be able to break someone's skull or crack someone's skull, yeah, it's going to be put in this exact same box and bin as a standard 9mm handgun. So they're designed for a reason to shoot the rounds that they're designed to shoot. So moving on, will we see rounds with chemical agents in the future? So Luan, you wanna kind of talk about this?
Yeah. So we want to make our product line consistent with the .68 caliber rounds, and we are feverishly working on chem rounds from Max, which is tear gas and pepper, and then also an inert training round that allows professionals and private citizens alike to see what the dispersion rate looks like. So it's a lot of engineering. The kinetic round was the first introduction. We hope to have the chem rounds available by early next year.
Yeah, we had always intended to have the whole line of rounds that we do with our .68 caliber in 12 gauge, but we wanted to make sure and get you guys, what we could as soon as we could, because we knew it was going to be popular. We knew everyone wanted it. So, the kinetic rounds are going to be very, very effective, but I can tell you we're all excited about the chemical rounds coming down the pipe, definitely. Okay, is training available or required for the 12-gauge less lethal round? So we kind of touched on this a little bit with our partnership with the NRA, and being able to teach an NRA-based less lethal shotgun course here in the near future. So that will be available. Now, is it required? No, technically not. There is no training required for shotgun or, less lethal shotgun rounds pretty much in any state that I'm aware of. This isn't like carrying a handgun where in a lot of states you have to have a concealed carry course and you have to get the certification and all that. So this is pretty much available to anybody right now as long as your state allows it. It's available to anybody with no certification, no training, but I would definitely heavily recommend you do some training. And Luan, you kind of touched on this last night. You had a really good perspective on the training and comfortability.
So I would highly recommend it. I was trained that any ammunition that you buy, you should run it through your weapon. And no different than a pistol, the shotgun, run the rounds. If you are lucky enough to get your hands on our 12-gauge rounds, I would buy 2 boxes, right? For me, the first box would be just running it at a range. You could probably run in your backyard, but I don't know the legalities of running a shotgun in your backyard. But
make sure it's okay to shoot a firearm within your city limits or municipality, county, whatever it is.
Yep. And then once you find the proper location to train, run the 10 rounds. Understand how it racks, how it fires, and how you react to it. Because the last thing you want to do is pull those rounds during a self-defense situation, and it affects your confidence. And so I'd run 10 through it, and then I'd have 10 for when I need it.
Yeah, that was a really good point, Luan, about not doing something new for the first time in the critical incident. So we talk in another episode of Hot Take. It's with Jeffrey Gaynor. I think it was episode 4. We really talk about how your brain reacts in a critical incident and how much training will influence or anything you do before that will influence your response in a critical incident. So I'd encourage you to go watch that. Man, it's very, very eye-opening to see that, like Luan said, if the first time you're doing it, it's in a critical incident, it's not going to happen. It's just not, you're not going to be able to perform. So training is so pivotally important, which is why you hear me say it all the time. Train early, train often. It's some of the best advice that I've picked up in 2 decades of being a cop and a SWAT guy. So I would definitely recommend it. All right, so I get this a lot. I like this one. Are the Byrna 12-gauge less lethal rounds reusable and reloadable? So I know a lot of my shotgunners out there love to reload the rounds. That's one of the best parts about shotgun is it is for those that are reloading or those that are interested in it. It is very easy to do that. However, with that being said, a lot of those components in our shotgun round are, they were prototyped and they're injection molded and they're very particular and specific to our round. The wadding, for instance, is not a commercially available wadding. We had to design that, and I say we, as in the royal we, because I surely didn't design it. So as a company, we had to specifically prototype and design this wadding specifically for our rounds. So it's not something that you can go out and buy. Wadding is one of those things that's really not reusable in any reloading operation. So and then you never want to rely on a reloaded ammunition for something that you would use in self-defense. I loaded for a long time when I was on a precision rifle for training and for practice, but I would never put reloaded ammunition in my weapon system that I would actually use in a self-defense situation or on duty. So I would love to say yes, and I'd love to say that that'd be a possibility because that makes everything more fun and more reusable. But you want to make sure that those rounds work when you need them to work. So make sure that they're fresh out of the box if you're actually going to load them in your shotgun before.
And the reason why I'm holding up these rounds is like there's a visible difference in the Byrna round and your standard. This is actually a less lethal round too, but it uses a brass base. But that being said, that's what makes this technology so innovative. Like there has nothing been that has been delivered or brought to market in the last 30 years that gives you the accuracy, the stopping power, and the range. And with any ammunition, like all the less lethal 12 gauge rounds that are available out in the marketplace today, they lack one or two of the three, if not three, right? And so that's what makes this this product so unique. And there's nothing like it out there right now, and that's why we're getting the accolades in the police world or law enforcement world and the NRA circles, as well as your general interest magazines around everything related to firearms and ammunition.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience, the primary round that law enforcement's been using for 12 gauge less lethal has been around for over 20 years now without any progress or without any technological progression. So this is really pushing that up to the forefront and leveraging current technology to really increase the capability of 12 gauge less lethal as a family. So super excited about it.
Yeah, and for those out there that are trying to replicate this, it is patented. So there's that.
Of course. All right, so last of our frequently asked questions that I do get a lot, will Byrna be making a dedicated shotgun? Luan, what's your take on that?
No comment, but I think right now there are 120 million shotguns out there, and I believe it's the United States and maybe the world, but a lot of shotguns. And so we wanted to introduce our platform to those folks. Because we want to give folks, an alternative. It's all about options. I stress that every time I get a chance to speak about, use of force. Have options, because you do not want to apply a level 10 response to a level 5 situation. If you do, any third-rate lawyer out there will remove you of your freedom, your ability to work, and your assets. And so start with this. It's a great place and a great defense, because I always like to say, if that happened to me and I had to resort to lethal force, my lawyer would say, Your Honor, and the members of the jury, my client started off with less lethal, and unfortunately those people in his home decided to escalate the attack, and he had to level his game. And so without answering the question about the 12 gauge shotgun right now, I think there's enough for us to go after with this 12 gauge round. And I would say never, because Byrna is all about innovation. And, we want to make sure that we use our time, use our human capital to focus on innovations and products that affect everyone from a mass perspective. And so that's what we want to do first. And then if there's opportunities to create unique products like the Byrna launchers, we're all in. But right now, we want to be critically focused and keeping our eyes on the target.
Man, that's a great answer and very well put. So, Chris, do we have any other questions out there that we can make sure and sum up? I want to make sure that if it's out there, we answer it the best we can.
Yes. Is there a store locator for the ammo?
A store link?
Store locator.
So right now there is a dealer locator on the Byrna website at byrna.com. So what I would do is go to that dealer locator and find the one nearest to you, give them a call and say, hey, you guys have Byrna 12 gauge less lethal. And if they say no, ask why not. And just absolutely say, well, I need you to get it so that I can buy it from you. And as long as they have their ammo vendor license, like Luan said, we could have it to them in a week.
Squeaky wheel gets heard.
That's right.
Let me ask you, are there any special requirements for felons?
Good question. Are there any special requirements for felons? So historically, Byrna has been a very felon-friendly company just because of what we're producing and a convicted felon's ability to carry it. Now, this is considered ammunition, so firearms ammunition. So I know in a lot of states, possessing firearm ammunition is the same as possessing a firearm when it comes to the offense of felon in possession of firearms. So I would check your local states, your local laws to make sure that you're going to be able to possess this. So before you jump the gun and buy it and have it shipped to you. So good question though.
And just a general comment: New Jersey ? New Jersey ? New Jersey ?
Is New Jersey on that list, Luan?
No. Oh, yes, it is. So New Jersey and New York.
So another example of calling your local. Oh.
Yeah, we can't ship to New Jersey and New York. Is it legal? The answer is yes.
Yes. Call your local ammunition and firearms store and dealer and tell them, hey, email dealersales@byrna.com. I need these rounds here, and we can get them to them, no problem. So that's...
So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So these rounds are going very fast. And so we, as those in Byrna Nation know, when we say limited supply, we really mean it. And sometimes the wait list is very long. So, we're close to a point where we may be rationing, X amount of boxes per customer, but we're not there yet. First come, first serve. So just make sure you get your guys on it. If you get your dealer to load up, especially in California, we have a lot. Are there any dealers out there? Here's a huge opportunity for you because we're getting inundated with calls from Californians where they want this round. And so here's our opportunity to serve that demand.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We have a capacity to produce these, and when that's up, that's up. So make sure you get on it quick. And get them out to your dealer or get them shipped directly to you if you can. So, Chris, anything else we haven't covered yet?
Questions for various states. What if I have an FFL?
If you have an FFL, you're good to go.
Yeah. Dealersales@byrna.com. We'll get those out to you quick. Now, I got to say it 7 times to make sure everybody remembers. Dealersales@byrna.com.
Tell them Luan and Josh sent you.
Yeah, absolutely. Mostly Luan. He carries a lot of weight around here. So. Anything else, Chris?
That's it from my end.
Awesome. Guys, I appreciate you guys joining us again. Thanks for sticking with us through all these challenges that we've been faced. I can guarantee you that we're going to work through them. I hope we answered all your questions. If we didn't, leave your questions in the link below or in the comments section, in the chat, whatever it is, on whatever platform you're on, and I will get to them personally. So I want to make sure that we answer all those questions out there. So leave your question below, and I will get to you, and we can have a great discussion. Luan, any closing remarks before we sign off?
Yes. If you're near or in Las Vegas, come by to our retail store and visit us. You can find it easily on Maps, Google Maps, Apple Maps, or whatever. We'd love to say hi and thank you for your support. And if I'm around and I'm not traveling, let's put another dent in that metal door of ours. And if our landlord's listening, I'll get you a new one. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely. Guys and girls, make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube channel and on social media, Facebook and Instagram, to make sure you're getting the latest updates and notifications of all our live broadcasts and all of the new product drops when they come out. Get on the email list. Everybody on the email list always gets news first. Thank you so much for joining us on Hot Take Live. Make sure you're downloading this podcast as well on all major podcast platforms. So, with that being said, train early, train often, and make sure you're doing what it takes so that if the time comes, you're prepared to defend.